Good morning, everyone. I'm just going to ask that everyone find their seats so that we can begin on time today. Thank you all for being here. We're going to start in just a minute or two. Thank you. All righty. Good morning, everyone. Good morning, and thank you for taking the time to join us today as we commemorate this momentous occasion in the history of Clovis Unified. My name is Dr. Stephanie Hanks, Assistant Superintendent for our newest area, Clovis South. The Clovis South area will be established around the Terry P. Bradley Educational Center, our district's 6th comprehensive high school, 4th educational complex, and the reason we are all gathered here today. I would like to start our program this morning by acknowledging all of the Clovis Unified staff who have helped make today possible. Thank you. I'm going to clap for them. And it is important to note that we would not be here if it was not for the visionary leadership of our founding superintendent, Dr. Floyd B. Buchanan. Over 63 years ago, he set the impressive trajectory of this district by establishing a firm foundation, an educational system that focused on students and infused with a core philosophy that reminds us that it is through relationships, teamwork, and of course, a little competition that we will continue to thrive. Whether it was the individuals who, more than 15 years ago, had the foresight to ensure we obtained the property we are all standing on today to serve students in the southernmost part of the boundaries, the finance and facilities team that has nurtured the vision to its fruition, the maintenance, grounds, clerical, custodial, CUSD student volunteers, and school leadership teams that champion today's event, or the community that continues to support our work as an educational team, I would like to thank you all for being those partners who remind us daily of DOC's vision and the power of what a team can accomplish together. Thank you. As we look to open the newest 712 Educational Center in Clovis Unified, I believe it is important to incorporate our most precious resource into this event. At this time, I would like to invite Ms. Karis Fisher to the podium. Ms. Fisher has been an active leadership student throughout her high school time. She has served as ASB Commissioner of Performing Arts and Clubs, ASB Social Commissioner, and is in her second year as an Interschool Council representative, currently serving as the Interschool Council President, representing the entire Clovis Unified student body.
Thank you, Dr. Hanks, for that introduction. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the official groundbreaking ceremony for the Terry P. Bradley Educational Center. It is an honor to be here today to represent the students of Clovis Unified by serving our district as the student representative, including those who will attend the Terry P. Bradley Educational Center in the future. Isn't it amazing to think that at one time, every one of Clovis Unified schools had a moment like this, when on a bare piece of ground, a community came together to celebrate a beginning. And now it's our turn. I can't wait to see what this campus will look like in just a few years. At this time, I would like to introduce the Interschool Council Community Relations Officer, Ms. Sophia McComas, to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance, which will be immediately followed by the Star-Spangled Banner. Ladies and gentlemen, please rise. And remain standing as the Clovis Unified Air Force, JROTC, represented by students from Clovis East and Clovis High School, present the colors for the Pledge of Allegiance and the singing of the Star-Spangled Banner.
Breathe and vote.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. You may all be seated. Thank you, Sophia, for leading us in the Pledge of Allegiance this morning. And thank you to the Clovis Unified Air Force, JROTC, for ensuring that we continue to show respect for our great nation. May we also give a round of applause to the Clovis East Timberwolves Choir for that beautiful rendition of our national anthem. It is always a joy to hear and see the talents of my peers. At this time, I would like to invite Dr. Stephanie Hanks back up to the podium.
Thank you, Karis. I'm humbled to be part of the development of the Terry P. Bradley Educational Center and the Clovis South area, and to be able to honor one of our district's most distinguished administrators today, and former superintendent, Dr. Terry Bradley. Dr. Bradley is a compelling individual whose financial stewardship, care of our district and its people, and leadership continues to positively affect our students, staff, and the community today. As you know, Clovis Unified was founded by Dr. Floyd B. Buchanan, and his recognition that people are at the heart of how we accomplish our goal of educating all students. As we continue to value our dedicated leaders, employees, students, parents, and community members, all of whom work together through teamwork and trust to provide a world-class educational experience, I'm here to say that it will be no different at our newest educational center, with Dr. Bradley providing the foundational characteristics for the community to embody. I would now like to introduce to you some of the esteemed Clovis Unified leaders, both past and present, who represent the Clovis Unified family. These individuals embody excellence and will work hand in hand as we embark on guiding the next generation of CUSD learners, leaders, and contributing members of our greater community. As we acknowledge our distinguished guests on the platform, I ask that you please hold your applause until each group has been introduced. Would the Student Interschool Council representatives from each of our high schools please stand when I announce your name, and please remain standing as we acknowledge you for representing the district's entire student body and as we thank you for your leadership. ISC President from Clovis High School, Ms. Karis Fisher. ISC Vice President from Buchanan High School, Ms. Avery Cheney. ISC Volunteer Coordinator from Clovis West High School, Ms. Sophia McComas. And ISC members from Clovis East High School, Jake Corson. And Clovis North High School, Ava Morales. Ladies and gentlemen, please applaud the Clovis Unified student representatives and the future of our community. Thank you. Clovis Unified is also fortunate to have outstanding leadership from our dedicated district administration, school board, and community partners. It is my pleasure to introduce those talented individuals who have and continue to provide governance for our district. At this time, I would like to acknowledge Clovis Unified Superintendent, Dr. Corinne Fulmer. Governing Board President, Mr. David DeFrank. Vice President, Mr. Hugh Autry. And members, Mrs. Yolanda Moore and Mrs. Tiffany Stoker-Madsen. It is now my privilege to also introduce our special guest, Dr. Terry Bradley. And joining Dr. Bradley today are his wife, Mrs. Jeannie Bradley, and son, Bill Bradley. Thank you. And thank you for standing to do that with us. It is now my honor to introduce to you three individuals who have each uniquely contributed to the legacy of Clovis Unified. Former Superintendent Dr. Emer O'Brien. Dr. O'Brien retired recently after spending 27 years of her career in the Clovis Unified School District. She served her last 6 as superintendent and faced a time of uncharted waters during a worldwide pandemic. She and her team were instrumental in making sure Clovis Unified proactively charted a course through those unfamiliar waters that aligned with the true values and mission of the district. In fact, many other children in California benefited from Clovis Unified, setting a course that other school districts then followed. We are grateful for your steady leadership, Dr. O'Brien, and so glad you can join us today. I would also like to acknowledge former Superintendent Dr. Janet Young. Dr. Young spent her 38-year career serving the students, families, and community of Clovis Unified while mentoring many of the leaders you see on the platform today. Dr. Young's contribution to our district helped usher in a new generation of leaders who continue to embrace DOC's founding principles. She adhered to DOC's high standards in her own actions and in her support for others. She looked for people who had what she called the care chip, meaning an internal motivation and caring capacity that keeps them driven to do their job well so that ultimately our students benefit. Thank you, Dr. Young, for all of your service to our district and for being with us here today. Finally, it is important for us to acknowledge Dr. Floyd B. Buchanan, our founding superintendent, to whom we all owe much gratitude. Although Doc cannot be here with us today, he is certainly here in spirit. He is represented today by his signature cowboy hat, which is found in the place of honor next to Dr. Fulmer and at the front of our stage today. Doc was always proud of our community, focused educational facilities, and his vision was that our school be at the heart of the communities that they serve. There is no doubt that Doc would be extremely proud of the continued pursuit of excellence and educational experiences made possible by building a first-class facilities like the Terry P. Bradley Educational Center. I would also like to introduce the distinguished members of the Superintendent's Executive Cabinet. Please rise when I say your name. Deputy Superintendent, Mr. Norm Anderson. Associate Superintendent, Human Resources and Employee Relations, Mr. Barry Jager. Associate Superintendent for School Leadership, Dr. Mark Hammock. Associate Superintendent, Administrative Services, Mr. Michael Johnston. And Chief Communications Officer, Mrs. Kelly Avance. These individuals work tirelessly to ensure that our students and the community have access to an unrivaled educational experience. Thank you. And schools are built because our community trusts our stewardship and partners with us to pass bond measures that provide the resources to maintain, modernize, and create facilities that engage students and instill pride in our community. It is the visible community leaders and consultants who inspire others and who provide the guidance we value. Representing the Measure A Bond Committee that helped realize the vision of this educational center, former Assistant Superintendent of Facility Services and Measure A co-chairperson, Mr. Kevin Peterson. And Measure A co-chairperson and partner with Cook Land Company, Mr. Todd Cook. Please acknowledge their contribution to making this project a reality. I would also like to recognize the tremendous support that we receive each year from the Foundation for Clovis Schools. Representing the foundation today is Foundation Chairperson, Mr. Mike Fennessy. Thank you to the foundation for your continued support in all of our endeavors. And now I would like to recognize the group of individuals who will oversee this massive construction and design of this magnificent project in the coming years. Please acknowledge our district employees, consultants, and partners. Assistant Superintendent for Facility Services, Mr. Denver Stairs. Representing Harris Construction, President, Mr. Michael Spencer, and Chairman of the Board, Mr. Richard Spencer. Representing PBK Architects, Principal Architect Jeff Barrios, and President Roy Montalbano. Administrator, Facility Services, Mr. Nick Mell. And CUSD Director of Construction and Engineering, Mr. Rick Lawson. Clovis Unified and the future students, parents, and community members of the Clovis South area are grateful for your diligence in the coming years as you work towards building this educational center. The tremendous efforts all of these individuals have and will continue to contribute in order to open the Terry P. Bradley Educational Center in August of 2025 is greatly appreciated. And ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to acknowledge the final group and all of our platform guests for their contribution to this project. And I'd be remiss if I did not acknowledge those guests here today, many of whom are dedicated elected officials and representatives from public agencies. Clovis Unified values these partnerships, and I ask that the following individuals please stand when acknowledged. Fresno County Board of Supervisor, Nathan Magzig. Fresno County Board of Supervisor, I believe Representative Lindsay Jones. Thank you. Fresno County Sheriff John Zanoni. City of Fresno Mayor Jerry Dyer. And representing elected officials, Blake Zonti on behalf of Congressman Kevin McCarthy's office, Ms. Jenna Welch on behalf of Senator Shannon Grove's office, Clovis Community College, Dr. Kim Armstrong, and Clovis Veterans Memorial District, Mr. Lorenzo Rios, Mr. Don Watnick, and Mr. Tom Wright. Thank you to all of these individuals. As I understand, several of you have certificates to commemorate this event. Dr. Fulmer will receive them after our ceremony. We also extend our gratitude to the countless others who are unnamed and have championed the endeavors of our public education, as we would not be as successful without their support. Thank you to all of these individuals. The Governing Board of Clovis Unified School District has been the representative elected leaders for our district, providing the direction and support necessary for our schools to excel. I personally would like to thank these men and women who live in our community and have chosen to step up and run for elected office so that they may serve our students and make a difference in all of our lives. Yours is not an easy job, and I appreciate your commitment. It is now my privilege to introduce and invite our Governing Board President, David DeFrank, to the podium to share some remarks. Mr. DeFrank understands well what it means to be a parent partner with Clovis Unified. As a parent of 6 current and future Clovis Unified students, Mr. DeFrank is an active member of his children's school and the greater community. He extends his compassion and care to all Clovis Unified students as a board member, and for that, we are grateful. President DeFrank, the podium is yours.
Thank you, Dr. Hanks. I want to echo the gratitude that you expressed for our teams that are working on this project. Our world-class facilities like the one that's going to be built here are made possible because, as you mentioned, voters trust Clovis Unified and they pass the bonds that we need. And to be honest, there aren't many government agencies right now that I trust with my money, but Clovis Unified is one of them. And in fact, they're at the top of the list because of people like Mr. Johnston, Mr. Stairs, and the leadership of our superintendents, past and present, Dr. Bradley, Dr. Young, Dr. O'Brien, and Dr. Fulmer, who squeeze every last drop out of our construction dollars. So thank you to all of you and to the teams that have supported you. Speaking of Dr. Bradley, this center has been named the Terry Bradley Education Center for years, but we recently had to choose a name for the high school that will be located here. And one of the requests about naming that made its way to the school board was from none other than Dr. Bradley himself. But he didn't ask for the school to be named after himself. His request was that the name include the word Clovis, so that when our students or the school do something newsworthy, it would be clearly tied to Clovis Unified. And that's the kind of perspective that makes our district special. When we get a win, we don't point to the name on the back of the jersey, we point to the name on the front. And so today we get to have a marked moment in anticipation of all that will happen here in the decades to come. This will be a place where future championship sports teams practice, future engineers and doctors and leaders will study. It will be a place where teachers find new and creative ways to get difficult concepts across to our students. It will be a place where someone on our transitions team becomes the one steady adult that a child needed to turn their life around. And it will be a place where new friendships are formed and old ones are deepened. So on behalf of the governing board, thank you all for being part of the good that will be done here for our students and for our community in the years to come. With that, I'll turn it back over to Dr. Hanks.
Thank you, President DeFrank, for your remarks today. They were wonderful. Clovis Unified School District is fortunate to be led by a superintendent who understands our district at the core. Dr. Fulmer's ties to our district date back to her time as an elementary student at both Jefferson and Weldon elementary schools and as a Buchanan Bear. It is here that she learned what it meant to excel in mind, body, and spirit. As a parent and community member of our district, Dr. Fulmer reaps the benefits of our educational team and knows full well the beauty of a collaborative team of educators striving to give her own daughters all of the opportunities she herself was able to experience growing up. As an educator and leader in our district for over 20 years, Dr. Fulmer has gained valuable insight into our district systems, programs, and partnerships that help create the space for our district vision to be America's benchmark in education. Dr. Fulmer is known as a leader who is committed to high expectations and teamwork and is willing to roll up her sleeves and come alongside others to deliver the best possible environment for our students, employees, and the community. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the podium our superintendent, Dr. Corinne Fulmer.
Thank you, Dr. Hanks, for that very kind introduction. Since the creation of Clovis Unified in 1960, we have become a school district that is steeped in tradition and history. Our organizational culture is based on some key core values, such as providing a first-class education, having a student-centered decision-making philosophy, a strong work ethic held by the incredible team that is Clovis Unified, and the knowledge that education revolves around teamwork and trust, which could not be more evident than it is today. We hold ourselves accountable to these core values, as do our parents and community. Today we are celebrating where our tradition and long-held core values merge with our future. As we break ground for a new educational center bearing the name of Terry P. Bradley, one of the people whose life and career helped define that very organizational culture. One of the promises that our governing board has been able to keep in our 64 years of existence is that when our taxpayers have approved bond measures that have given us the money to build new schools and renovate existing schools, we have been good stewards of those dollars and have delivered first-class facilities that our students, parents, and community can be proud of. In the last 12 years, we have opened 3 new elementary schools, with another one currently in process, Hariyama. But it has been more than a decade since we opened a new educational center. Today's groundbreaking will mark our 6th comprehensive intermediate and high school, and our 4th educational center. I can actually, Dr. Bradley, remember as a 6th grader attending the groundbreaking of our 1st educational center, where Buchanan High School, Alta Sierra Intermediate, and Garfield Elementary now stand, and it looked much like this. Today's groundbreaking means that we continue to be a growing district that is rapidly changing. Hundreds of new families come into our district each year because they want their children to experience a Clovis education. However, because our new families are not necessarily familiar with our traditions, culture, and history, it becomes our responsibility to blend the past with the future to meet the needs of our new families without forgetting what continues to make Clovis Unified the special district it is. As I look at the guests here today and recognize the incredible leaders that helped set the trajectory of this district and our current team here to build upon that foundation, it is an exciting day. And with that excitement, I am also humbled to be here today with 3 of our previous superintendents. I know that during their tenure, they knew, as I know, our current CUSD family of 43,000 students and roughly 7,000 employees is going to continue to grow. One of the greatest honors and compliments a governing board can bestow is the naming of a facility. The Terry P. Bradley Educational Center is a recognition of the steadfast and intuitive leadership of our district by Terry Bradley, Dr. Terry Bradley. I know that the schools on the Terry Bradley Educational Center will stand for all that its namesake is known for. It will serve as a standard of innovation, prioritizing students, staff, and the community, and model the high standards that Clovis schools strive to uphold. Dr. Bradley, I want to express what an honor and joy it is to get to celebrate you, your years of dedication to our district, and the values you helped instill in those who work for Clovis Unified. In fact, today is especially full circle for me, as you were the superintendent that hired me. And I have not regretted one day of my working with our team, our students, or our families. Thank you for your leadership and being a role model we have learned from. The Terry P. Bradley Educational Center has been on the horizon for years, so being here today is so exciting. Today will be a large step in the creating of a new area. And while boundary changes are hard, they're very hard, the energy and possibilities of all that Tbec and Clovis South will offer our students will make that adjustment worth it. I would like to take this opportunity to recognize and thank our team in Clovis, who will help bring this project of a lifetime to a reality. There are so many individuals that work behind the scenes to create a new area and educational center, and I am greatly thankful for all of their work behind the scenes that make this possible. I'd also like to thank our industry partners for designing and embarking on the construction of another beautiful campus in our district. Thank you too to our community for stepping up to the plate by continually passing bond measures that allow us not only to build outstanding schools, but to renovate and maintain our older schools. A special thank you to Dr. Stephanie Hanks and the team that helped put this beautiful event together for us today. And finally, thank you for all of you here today. I want to make sure that while we're here and it's exciting to break ground, I hope you come back to see this project finished, because it's going to be impressive. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Fulmer. Now I would like to invite ISC Vice President, Ms. Avery Cheney, to introduce our honored guest today.
Good morning. What an honor it is to be here today to witness the gathering of so many individuals committed to the success of Clovis Unified students. And to be able to introduce the amazing individual that Tbec is named after, Dr. Terry P. Bradley. Dr. Bradley obtained a Bachelor of Arts degree in Education and Accounting, a Master's degree in Business Management, and a doctorate degree in School Management. Anyone who knows him well will tell you that he has a passion for numbers and budgets, and that he loves Clovis Unified. When he joined Clovis Unified in 1976 as the district's business administrator, he put his financial talents to work for students, finding ways to do the most with every dollar. Dr. Bradley spent the next 34 years in Clovis Unified, serving as an assistant superintendent, associate superintendent, deputy superintendent of administrative services, and then superintendent from 2002 to 2009. Dr. Bradley has always been humbled, and he worked tirelessly behind the scenes. While everyone knows that Doc crafted the vision for education that we benefit from today, fewer know just how much of Doc's vision was able to be accomplished because of Dr. Bradley, his expertise in navigating California's school funding model. Over the course of his career, he did not sit back and wait for things to happen for our district. Instead, he was influential at the state and national level to make sure that our Clovis Unified kids were taken care of. Whether through working to impact the state's early funding model or through his work on the state's facilities program, Dr. Bradley was always looking out for Clovis Unified kids and our employees. And while he always put Clovis Unified students first, he cared for every student attending school in California and was instrumental in state organizations like CASH, CASBO, School Services, and FCMAT, which still influence public education policy. Dr. Bradley held numerous leadership positions in CASH, CASBO, and was one of the great minds before CASBO's mentoring program for school chief business officers. Dr. Bradley currently provides consulting services for facility improvements across the state of California. He continues to be a resource to others, especially in our district, through his mentorship of district leaders as our district continues to build towards the future. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming the namesake of the newest Clovis Unified Educational Complex to the podium, Dr. Terry Bradley.
Well, thank you very much. You know, when we were sitting there, we were talking about the opening of our really first educational center, that being Buchanan. And I'm sure it's not going to open the way we opened Buchanan and the way we opened Alta Sierra. Dr. Fugman's laughing, he remembers. I see Dr. Kaiser back there, he knows about it. Dr. Rogers probably knows about it. Carlo probably wasn't still, or probably was still in Clovis High. But when we opened up Alta Sierra, and it was not because there was delay in equipment or materials delay, but there was no air conditioning. And of course, when we opened it, the temperature was over 100 degrees. So obviously, a lot of people at the district office were getting a lot of phone calls. And then, not to be outdone, when Buchanan opened up, it's a beautiful, beautiful campus. But we were opening furniture the day the kids showed up in school. The cafeteria was not finished. The gymnasium was not done. And that beautiful media center in the two-story building, kids had to walk around it because it still had not been finished. I'm sure when our next Ed Center opens here in 2025, not Randy, but Denver, all of those things will not be what people will worry about. And Dr. Fulminger will not be inundated with phone calls like we were back in whenever that day was. You know, just going back to 1976, when I showed up for an interview, and the famous Dave Cook was actually back in his office around 2 o'clock in the afternoon, and that was early for Dave getting back from lunch. When we started the interview, there was a board meeting that evening, and Dave asked me to go to the board meeting with him. So I went, and it was in late July, and the board was approving the budget. And Clovis West had just opened up, and one of my favorite lines from an administrator during an open board meeting, one board member said, you know, Mr. Cook, you know, we are opening Clovis West this year, aren't we? And he said, well, sure we are. And she said, well, I don't see anything in the budget for Clovis West High School. And you've got to know Dave to appreciate what Dave said. He said, well, board member, you received the award for the one board member that read the budget. No. Was there anything in there regarding Clovis West? Probably not, knowing Dave, but it all got done, it all got taken care of, and all got funded. Well, after that board meeting, Dave asked me to go over to his house, and he had a gazebo in the backyard. So we sat there until about 3 o'clock in the morning. And I'm not going to tell you what we were drinking, but we had a really, really good time. Unfortunately, the next morning I met Dr. Buchanan for the first time at 8 o'clock. And that was a very, very interesting interview, to say the least. And you know, the exposure to Dr. Buchanan was very unbelievable. The most amazing part of that interview is we were late getting back to the airport. And I swear that Dr. Buchanan never put his foot on the brake all the way back to the airport. And any of you who have driven with Dr. Buchanan over the years, you will understand what I'm saying. Did his tires go out? Yes. Did his brakes ever go out? Never. Never, never, ever. So that was my introduction to Clovis Unified. And when we showed up in November of 1976, it was the day after Jerry Ford lost the presidential race to the peanut farmer from Georgia. You know, I guess you know what party I now support. Anyway, you know, it was a great, great many years in the district. And I thank all of you, truly thank all of you for showing up today. You know, I've been around for a long, long time, and I don't think there was ever a standing room only crowd at any event that I was supposed to speak at. So those of you standing back there, you know, it's been a long, long time that this kind of crowd showed up. So I really, really do appreciate all of you coming. You know, I want to recognize the members of the school board that we had in June of 2009. When this facility was named the Tbec Center. And I see Sandy Bengal here, one of our great, great board members from years ago. And I don't know if there are any other board members here or not from that era, but Sandy, thanks for coming today. That was just a great, great board. You know, we go all the way back into the time when Dr. Buchanan didn't retire, but Dr. Buchanan did not have his contract renewed. And there were things that were taking place that were beyond everyone's control. And it was an interesting time, to say the least, all the way from 1987 until 1995. Things started to change a little bit in 1991, when, I think it was 91 or 92, when Ginny Hovasepian and I think Dr. Van Valkenburg and Dr. Susan Walker were elected to the board. And then in 1993, Richard Lake, I think, was elected. I know Sandy Bengal was elected. And all of a sudden, the traditions and the culture of Clovis Unified started to come back. And one of the board members, not one of the board members, but one of the superintendents who wanted to be here today, but I told him, Walt, you know, they just got home from Europe on Sunday evening. And we just got home from Europe about a month and a half ago. And getting home from Europe is a whole lot easier when you're 70 years old than when you're 80 years old. I can tell you that for sure. And Walt is a little bit older than 80, so I said, Walt, stay home, but you gotta be here for the ribbon cutting in 2025. Anyway, I want to say a few words about Walt. There are a lot of things said about Dr. O'Brien, a lot of things said about Dr. Young, but in between, you know, those very, very, very important years when the board had to hire someone from outside Clovis Unified, because you don't remember those days, but you know, we had a Mason-Dixon line in our school district, and that line was Herndon Avenue. And the people south of Herndon Avenue, they were all, you know, they understood what an education Clovis Unified was all about. Those folks north of Herndon Avenue, they wanted to have a Clovis Unified education, but they really didn't know what it was all about. And we didn't connect the way we should have connected with those people north of Herndon Avenue. In fact, Dr. Buchanan, after he retired, I was having lunch with him one day, and I said, you know, Doc, this thing might not have ever happened. You know, that period of time when we were on the brink of going one way or going the other way. If we wouldn't have recognized the needs of those people north of Herndon Avenue. And he looked at me and he said, you know, you're right. He said, you're not always right. He said, but you're right. And he said, I should have spent more time. He said, I depended upon my area superintendents, people like Carlo Prandini, people like Dr. Rogers, people like Steve Ward, that, you know, that really were the superintendents of school districts, medium-sized districts. And the superintendent, you know, everyone knew Dr. Buchanan, but yet they really didn't know what he was all about. And what Dr. Buster did for our school district, coming here from Marin County, of all places, you know, and he forgot about all the things that he was used to up in that county. He came here, he really didn't understand for a long time until Dr. Fugman and myself had to tell him, you know, Walt, you're not in a small little district anymore. You're in a big district. And you need those area superintendents to take care of what's going on in the district. And lo and behold, and I'm getting off script here and I apologize for it. I think it's pretty important. You know, Dr. Fugman and I were sitting in Walt's office one day, and Renee Roddenberry, another one of our great area superintendents, came into the office. And unfortunately, he's passed away a long time ago. And was just a great guy. So he comes in the office and he says, Dr. Buster, Jim will remember this, I see him smiling now. He said, if you don't need me, just tell me. What I want to do is I want to go back to Clovis High School and I want to be the wrestling coach again. And Walt looks at him and says, what are you talking about? And he says, well, if you're going to do my job, if you're going to take all these calls from parents and make decisions on my behalf, he said, you don't need me. And both Jim and I looked at Walt and said, do you now understand the importance of an area superintendent? And he did, and he embraced them. He started interviews with, not just starting, and both Jim and I said, Walt, you got to interview all these teachers. And he said, I've never ever done that as a superintendent. I said, Jim, or Walt, you got to do that. Toward the end, he said, you know, it took me my entire career to understand what the most important thing is that a superintendent does. That's interview the people that are going to make a difference in the lives of our kids. You know, our current superintendent said I interviewed her, and I guess I would be lying if I said, yes, I remember that interview. But I have absolutely no idea. No idea. But I'm sure it was one of the best hires ever. Anyway, getting back to what I really wanted to talk about, not only our past board members, this has been 14 years and about 4 months since that board we had in 2009 named this place the Tbec Center. And I have to thank the current school board members, for honoring that decision that was made, because, current school boards can change whatever former board members had done. So I really do appreciate that. And I don't know all these new board members. I met all of them for just a few minutes. I know Hugh Autry from way back. I watched board member Madsen grow up at Clovis West High School, along with her husband. I met Dr. DeFrank, or Mr. DeFrank, at Emer's retirement party, and he said to me, he said, I don't know you, but I know about you. And I kind of looked at him and said, what are you talking about? I had never met him at all, let alone know his name and what his face would look like. And he said, well, I was law clerk for Judge Pachigia. And I said, oh, so you know Chuck. And he said, yes, I do, and I know him really, really well. And we've talked about, doing some work up at the state level, doing some work at the national level, and that was all important, but it was really connecting with the people that represented our area and making sure, that LA Unified didn't get everything, or San Francisco Unified didn't get everything, but that this little district in Central California got something. And between people like Senator Pachigian at that time, and prior to that, Assembly Member Pachigian, and Mike Valines, and all of those folks that took care of our school district over the years. Did we spend a lot of time up in Sacramento? Yes, we did. And our school board, we have to be grateful to our school board, giving people like Denver Stairs and other folks in our district the amount of time to get away from the office and bring back not just I think a lot of goodwill from Sacramento, but also a lot of dollars from Sacramento. And it's a challenge. It's a real challenge. You have to take on school districts like Los Angeles, and to take on school districts like Fresno Unified, like our neighbor, because they hold the majority of the representatives up there. So Mr. DeFrank, thank you for spending time with Senator Pachigian, and he's near and dear to our school district for all the things that he has done for us over the years. We talked about our design and construction team, and I thought I had a good work ethic. Anyone who survives in Clovis Unified has to have a really good work ethic. The individual that was announced as the president of PBK, he's here today from Houston. I'm in bed usually, and he's on a tarmac in Houston coming out here for some kind of meeting somewhere in California. So Roy Montalbano, thank you for being with us today. Jeff Barrios, thank you. Jeff's the chief architect, or I guess they're called the principal architect in the development of this, what's going to be a beautiful Ed Center when it's fully completed. I saw something like 2028. That's a long time for someone who's 80 years old, Denver. I sure hope it's going to be earlier than that. But in addition to Roy and Jeff, I see Bob Levy out there. Bob is in charge of all the PBK offices in California. I see, I don't know if Mike Shane is here or not, but Mike's the new leader of the Fresno office for PBK in California. So I want to thank them for being here today. Also, it's going to take a construction team of more than just a few people. to make this thing visionary and to open it not like the way Buchanan opened up years ago, but to open up with a full staff and a full facility, or all the facilities completed. But I'd like to also recognize, I know they've already been recognized, but I would also like to recognize those folks that are going to be so instrumental in the work in this project. You have met Richard Spencer, the CEO of Harris, you mentioned, or you met Michael Spencer, the president of Harris Construction. I met Mike when Mike was a laborer for Harris Construction Company at a modernization project that we were doing at Clark Intermediate School. So Mike grew up, Mike grew up knowing what hard work is truly all about. Not saying is not working very hard right now. But in addition to that, some of the people that are boots on the ground people include Matt Davies. I see Matt a lot, and Matt is always talking about budget issues related to this project. Ryan Deal, a key member of the Harris team, who is just a no-nonsense guy who makes sure things do get done and get done on time. Another one that I want to mention is Mike Marsh, and some of you might remember his dad's name, Tim Marsh. Tim Marsh was one of the original presidents after the Spencer family purchased Harris Construction Company. And Tim couldn't be here today, but Tim is the reason that over 50 construction projects have been completed, whether they be modernization projects, athletic projects, new schools, additions to schools by Harris Construction Company over the last 25 to 30 years. So, Tim, just like my good friend Jerry Behrens, is suffering from, multiple? Yeah, whatever. I know where Tim couldn't be here today. I'm brain dead right now. But anyway, they're very, Tim would have loved to have been here, and I hope Mike is going to be able to tell that to his father, that he's been instrumental in what this facility is going to be like and what he has done for our school district in the past. One of the things I was mentioned is that I have done a lot of work with other school districts, never as an interim superintendent, never as an interim CDO. I would tell people if they called, if I wanted to do that stuff, I never would have left Clovis Unified. But I've done a lot of consulting work with a lot of districts, large districts, small districts, rural districts, big districts. And one of the things that I've learned is everyone has great people. Everyone really does have good people who are dedicated to a great education for their kids. But there are some things that make a district different. And I think it can be boiled down into like three terms. One of them is stability. Another one is doing the right thing. And the third one is maintaining your culture. And those are easy words to say, but they're very difficult things to do. And when you go around, and I've been all the way down to San Diego and all the way up to Reading, along with my friend Bill McGuire over here, one of our former associate superintendents. So Bill, thanks for coming down all the way from El Dorado Hills today. And I should also mention, before I talk a little bit about what makes districts a little bit different, is that, it takes more than just one person to have a facility like this named after them. It's people like, the folks that served on our cabinet for all the years, Dr. Kaiser and, Carlo Prandini and Steve Ward and Dr. Young and, all those group of people that, all of our custodians, all of our maintenance guys, our bus drivers, campus catering, they all play a very important role. They're all educators. They just have a different role in education. If you think about it, if you really think about it, anyone who gets on a bus, the first connection they make is with the bus driver that morning. And if the bus driver is friendly and says hello, they're going to have a pretty good day in school. And the same thing, the last person they see when they leave is the bus driver. So we all have to understand we're all educators. We just do different things. And we all play a very, very, very important role in the education of kids. But getting back again to the things that I just mentioned, you know, the area about stability. Stability is so important. And unfortunately, when it's either school boards that change every 4 years, whether it's the superintendent that comes and goes with the school board, that's not real stability, is it? Because your vision is always changing. Your goals are always changing. So we're very, very fortunate in our school district to, number one, have a superintendent for 31 years. And we went through that period I talked about where we actually had, if you count myself as an interim 2 different times, we had Dr. Buchanan, then we had a person from the southern part of our country. Then I was an interim. Then we had a longtime district employee who was superintendent for a couple of years, and then I was an interim again, and always saying there's no way in all of the earth I would ever work for a bunch of elected officials, and for some reason I ended up doing that, but only because Dr. Buster coming into our district and embracing our culture, embracing our traditions, and making our district what we always wanted it to be. So tradition is important as well as stability. We're fortunate, I look over here at Bill, I think we've had 4 chief business officials in Clovis Unified since its founding in 1960. That's unbelievable to have 4, possibly 5, going all the way back to Mr. Cook as our first chief business official. And I think you can say the same thing. Rick Lawson's name was mentioned as our, I have to stop saying our, but as the district's construction manager, whatever you're called, Rick. But anyway, Dr. Buchanan was Mr. Construction in Clovis Unified. We didn't have a construction department. And when it got time, when we were building Alta Sierra and doing Buchanan, that said, we need someone to do this. And I don't think many of you know how Jerry Walker ended up as our first director of construction and engineering. Jerry was a board member. And that's when, the makeup of our board was kind of 4-3, and Jerry was on the school board, and he was the president of the board, and he was the 4th person that supported Dr. Buchanan. And so we're talking about we got to get a director of construction and engineering. And he said, yeah, okay, let's post it, let's get the position approved by the board, and we did that. And then I was talking to him one day, and he said, well, who are you going to hire? And I said, well, we got a bunch of applicants out there, but I don't think anyone's really fit for this job that has applied. And he said, who do you think is the best person? And I said, well, we've got a guy who grew up in Clovis Unified, a guy who ran construction companies, a guy who got bought out by his brother and was kind of retired, and then his brother went bankrupt, and his annual retirement payment from his brother went away, and he was working for another construction company. And I said, the best guy, and he said, just stop, Terry. He said, I know who the best guy is. Just go and hire him. And so he's going to have to resign from the school board. He said, I've been around a long time, Terry. I know that. And I said, well, what's going to happen? That board's going to appoint someone to the board, and it probably will end up 3-4. He said, you got to do what you got to do. That's Dr. Buchanan, folks. I'm getting a little bit choked up because that was a big day. Anyway, we've only had 2 of those guys, Jerry Walker and Rick Lawson, as the leader of our facility department. So, those are things that we just have to continually remember, that traditions, culture, stability, that makes the school district different. Every school district has great people, but they don't have tradition, they don't have culture, and they don't have stability. So Dr. Fulmore, members of the school board, I hope you always remember how important those 3 things are. Because if they changed, and they could have changed in those early 1990s. But it was all the people in the ground, all the people with the boots on the ground, the teachers, the custodians, the maintenance guys, the site administrators. They kept this place together until Dr. Buster showed up. And then our district office finally got back to where we needed to be. And we forgot about politics, and we started doing the right thing again. So again, thank all of you for coming today. I took way more time. Dr. Head said about 2 minutes. So. Anyway, thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Bradley. He's accurate. I said 2 minutes. But we are thrilled to be able to honor you like this today. So thank you for sharing all of that culture, history, and information. I think a lot of us need to hear that. At this time, I'd like to invite Mr. Michael Spencer, President of Harris Construction, to the podium for a special presentation.
Thank you. Good morning. I think I can take a little longer now that Terry cut his comments so short. I was told 2 minutes, but as I got up, I thought, man, I could double that, and you guys wouldn't even know it. So I'm just kidding, Terry. I love you. As you heard, my name is Mike Spencer. I'm the president of Harris Construction. I'm joined today by my father, Richard, and a whole number of people from Harris Construction, the team, too many to list. First, you should know how honored we are to be here today. Quick little story, I promise, quick little story. Harris Construction was founded in 1914, so next year we will be celebrating our 110-year anniversary. That's a long time, even for everybody on the stage here. Yes, 110 years. But I can tell you this, the new Terry Bradley Education Center will be the single most important, meaningful, game-changing, community-impacting project that our company will have ever built in 110 years and probably ever will build. So I think that's saying something, and we couldn't be more honored to be part of this entire process. With us today, we brought a couple of small plaques to commemorate this. Yeah, do you know where those are? Oh, they were underneath me. I should have asked somebody the question before I. Okay. So this is a small little something, just we wanted to present to Clovis Unified. It's a plaque to commemorate this occasion, and it reads Terry P. Bradley Educational Center, Clovis Unified School District, groundbreaking ceremony, today's date, presented by Harris Construction. So with that, I'd like to present it to Superintendent Fulmer. Now, we couldn't, with a clear conscience, just give one of these plaques out, but I only have one more, I promise. So we made a second plaque, and we'd like to present that to our very good friend and fellow Notre Dame football fan, go Irish. Sorry, USC fans in the crowd, I saw a couple earlier. Dr. Bradley himself. Congratulations, Terry, and thank you for all you've done for Clovis Unified and all you do for K-12 education throughout our valley. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Spencer. Now I would like to invite Mr. Roy Montalbano, President, PBK Architects, for their special presentation.
Thank
you very much. Wow, looking out at the crowd, and it's just an incredible sight from here. I just want to say thank you to the former superintendents of Clovis USD, as well as Dr. Farmer, board members, and the executive team of Clovis Unified School District for this incredible opportunity to have us perform our services on this, what I'll call a career project. These projects don't come along very often, and we're honored to be part of this. Dr. Farmer's message states high standards and values placed on students is top priority, which lends itself to the district becoming a true partner with the local community. I've heard this over and over again as I come into Clovis and spend time here. The renowned Dr. Buchanan has Doc's Charge, right? I've heard a lot about this, and I did a little bit of research, and although I never had the honor of meeting Dr. Buchanan, I can tell you that the principles and values that he carried on that live in so many of us today reflect what Terry Bradley is all about. Say a few things here. He states that competition is good and that we want to teach our students to win with class and lose with dignity. He goes on to say whatever is done with the district and community is done with first class. And that's what Terry Bradley, Dr. Bradley is all about. He embodies these principles and he conducts his life by these standards of operation. Since I've known Terry, which is probably about 8 years or so, I've come to appreciate that when you spend time with him, have your pen and paper ready and take notes because it's going to be a learning moment for you. That's true every time we talk. Being a Notre Dame fan and a Green Bay diehard fan, I thought it would be appropriate to quote a few things here. Something that Vince Lombardi has on paper, and I think reflects this moment very well. He says, winning is not a sometime thing. It is an all-time thing. You don't win once in a while. You don't do things right once in a while. You do them right all the time. Winning is a habit. And I think that so embraces what this entire event here today reflects, not only with Clovis USD, but the fine leadership that this district produces that goes on to do great things throughout the state of California. This is what Terry Bradley is all about, as I've mentioned, remembering that a leader recognizes the fact that the organization he or she is part of is more important than the individual. I know I speak for the entire team, and we have a lot of representatives here today from PBK. I just want to say that what gets us up in the morning is what we do, and that is our passion to impact students' performance. And I can't think of a better place to do this than right here, right now in Clovis, California. This is an incredible opportunity. We wake up every day knowing there's going to be challenges that face us. But with the team that we have behind us, including Denver Stairs and his incredible team of resources, we get through it, as well as Harris Construction, I want to add. We get through it every day. And just rest assured that this team that we have assembled keeps this fine man right here in mind every day, because we know at the end of this project, we're going to be part of something special. And with that, I just want to say thank you to the district, and thank you, Terry, for all that you do for the community and for California, for the schools across the nation. What you teach us every day proliferates throughout the country, so thank you very much.
And you might notice that there is a commemorative shovel that PBK has provided to each of the guests on stage. So thank you, Mr. Montalbano, for those words. Now I would like to again welcome the Timberwolf Choir as they perform The Bluebird under the direction of Mrs. Allison Croce. thank you again to the outstanding Timberwolves Choir for providing us with a beautiful song this morning as we celebrate the groundbreaking of the Terry P. Bradley Educational Center, known to our team, you may have noticed, as Tbec. As we reflect on our time today, I would like to reiterate how proud we are to be celebrating Dr. Bradley and to be able to honor his career and dedication to students, our district employees, and community members. We are looking forward to an exciting 2 years as we build Tbec and establish the relationships, systems, and culture of a brand new era. At this time, I would like to call your attention to the left of the stage. You will notice 8 shovels and hard hats prominently displayed to represent the beginning of our 2-year construction project and beyond, and which we will be using today to commemorate this special occasion. We will have 3 groups participate in the breaking of ground this morning. These groups will take a number of photographs to commemorate this event. We invite you to observe that process and to celebrate Dr. Bradley and Clovis Unified's newest educational facility. You may also make your way to the reception area where we will have some refreshments available for you. At this time, I would like to invite our first group of participants to the groundbreaking area. Would the members of the governing board, Dr. Bradley and Dr. Fulmer, please make your way to the shovels. And again, thank you everyone for your attendance today at the Tbec groundbreaking ceremony. We appreciate partnering with each of you and look forward to the future and the opening of this fantastic educational center in August of 2025. Thank you, everyone.